Welcome to Engineering the Hard Problems, a technical podcast series run by Epsilon. Today I'm talking about a very interesting topic, something that a lot of GCCs are eagerly attempting, but very few are able to deliver at scale. The topic is AI Centers of Excellence. Epsilon has been on this journey for a couple of years now. We've got a fair share of challenges, lessons, and successes that we'd love to share with you. There's a lot of lessons that I'm sure many GCCs would be interested to learn from us. Less than 10% of the GCCs across India actually have an AI CoE. That seems like an abysmal ratio compared to the amount of AI and ML adoption we are seeing. So let's look at some of these tips, lessons, and challenges that Epsilon has faced. Joining me on this fantastic conversation, with me today I have Mamata Banerjee. She's our Director for Strategy and Operations, and she leads the AI CoE programs and initiatives in close collaboration with executives and functional leaders. Also joining me is Suman Banerjee. He's our Senior AI Principal Architect, and he plays a critical role in solving some of the toughest challenges we face, be it governance, be it build versus buy decisions, or ensuring ROI from our solutions. And I am Vikrant Payal. I am the Senior Director for AI CoE, and I handle the engineering. The last couple of years, Epsilon jumped from watching from the sidelines some of the innovations on GPTs and AI assistants to making that front and center and the core of our execution model. We had a choppy start though, right? Do you remember the first time we had very little adoption, a lot of confusion?
When we started off this journey, we had variety of challenges. Low adoption was one of them. And we've come a long way from then on to where we are today as Epsilon. And there needs to be a common denominator. For example, a shared understanding of approved tools, a shared understanding of governance and guardrails in place, what one should do, one should stay away from. And these are very pertinent from an enterprise lens standpoint. Making sure that the business processes that we have in Epsilon, the platforms that we have, what we sell in the market, and what AI has to offer is fit for purpose. That match has to happen. So these are very pertinent challenges that kept them away from adopting more and more. And I'm also very glad that when we were setting up the AI charter, we looked at it holistically from a 360-degree angle and set up our strategic vision to include 6 different work streams, which ensured that teams are able to work on their adoption journey through an individualized BU lens, a federated model, and as well as contribute and align to the central core, which actually helped us see a lot more success to begin with vis-a-vis what we would have ended up after 2 years. I would say one of the things that makes me feel extremely glad is when we started off the AI CoE journey, setting up of our strategic priorities for the AI Center of Excellence, there are few things that we made sure we put up as a common denominator that our associates can relate to and take back from. Ease of onboarding of certain tools, technologies, and how to go about it. The common guardrails and governance processes that should be in place for them to refer to. These are some of the things which are extremely pertinent for us to get started. And I feel really proud that we started off in the beginning at the right footing, which is why we saw the initial success, and now we have come a long way in our journey as well.
And I agree. I mean, executive focus is also a key driver. If you remember very early on, Epsilon leadership team has set AI adoption as a key outcome for each of the team. And the leadership team enabled the AI journey by making AI tools accessible. They enabled AI trainings relevant to each group, and also streamline the onboarding process.
Yeah, I think that really brought all the teams together, marching to one tune. But I'm curious, where does AI CoE fit into that picture?
I'll take that, Vikrant. I would say some of the things which were very pertinent from an AI CoE angle is constant reaffirmation of what the AI vision and what the AI strategy means at an organization level, at horizontals, at various verticals, and obviously also across teams. So, on one side, AI CoE was constantly reaffirming the strategy, the vision, the objectives, which went a long way for people to feel more comfortable about it on where the company is headed. And on the other side, we had very senior execs, we had business unit leaders, we had functional heads, and we had people managers do the same thing, which brought in, or I would say rather catapulted the comfort of the people to move ahead in the AI journey, which I see was a game changer. The second most important factor in making AI success for any company, one of the most common denominators or common currency that we draw from is talent, people. And the factor of people becomes important because Epsilon very early on understood that in the case of AI, upskilling will not be able to cut it. It's about right skilling, giving the power of AI to people where they need it rather than teaching them something unrelated. And that is where the COE focused heavily on, and we continue to do that, moving in our journey of right skilling. But it would be wrong for me to say and not add that we are facing other challenges as well, like many companies would be, in cases where different teams or maybe even sub teams within the same team are building same use cases, going ahead with tool proliferation challenges because people don't know which one to really go for. And that was a pertinent challenge that we were facing globally. And what we did as a matter of fact was go ahead and look at building again a common AI assets platform, which helped in discoverability, transparency, and provided the much needed common platform for people to refer back to in and sorting for these sort of challenges.
I think that made all the difference in our journey, right, Suman?
Yeah, I agree. And it's very natural for a large enterprise to progress with siloed AI initiatives which don't integrate with each other. Um, it is important to go ahead with POCs faster, along with usage of new AI tools. But then we need to ask ourselves, what are we building? Why are we building? And how we can make it more reusable, scalable, and reliable. I feel that we should move away from siloed AI initiatives and have one AI vision, uh, which help us to move in the right direction while we keep room for innovation.
Experimentation while keeping room for innovation. It's a very good point. Important one. It has served us well. Um, just to bring another perspective, right? I think AI CoE also focused a lot on the path to production. We have innovated a lot, like most teams in Epsilon. The shift left the ability to create solutions right from the business side down has made a big difference. But it's a matter of building systems that are repeatable, systems that are reliable and can be used again and again, especially when you move right. When you start looking at the path to production, you need something that is not fragile, that is not changing every day. You should be able to build your solutions and push them to production at speed and at scale. And that's something I think we have accomplished in the last 2 years.
You bring up a very interesting example, Vikrant, in the way you talked about production and how we have achieved it. What comes to my mind is honestly chat ops. And in my opinion, it's a very good example of how we have solved from going from a POC to a production and scale stage. And again, I would like to add that in my opinion, buying AI is easy, but integrating them within internal ecosystems is where the challenge comes really in. And a lot of companies don't see through it. In fact, we struggled with it. The promises made vis-a-vis what our internal ecosystems will actually do when you try to integrate is something to be looked and watched out for. Um, a particular AI solution can be 95% accurate, and yet, if it breaks the downstream systems, if it is not able to take the load, then AI becomes a liability. It's not a solution. So, why don't you share more, Vikrant, on our ChatOps journey? I think there are great lessons over there that we could also share and learn from.
I'd love to. It's a very interesting use case. We have over 40 plus chatbots, right, live in production, used by actual internal users. And the contrast is actually it's very easy to build chatbots nowadays, right? You can just write your own agents or bots very quickly. That's not the hard part. The hard part is being able to scale it, making sure that it is governed well, and the trickiest bit is connecting it to the right internal data assets. The bots are only as useful as the data assets that they can connect to. In this journey, we made a lot of points where we had to look back and re-architect things. And through that journey, we realized there's so many good ways to build a chatbot for internal assets. And we had to continuously check if we can re-architect it so that it's not just something that can be used by one, two, or five people. The end user scale now is in thousands. We had to re-architect to make sure that we can scale without necessarily sacrificing speed. And we've been going faster ever since.
Very important points, and the devil is in the details. So, calling a LLM API is not what we are looking for, right? How we provide the contextual data to get the required accuracy is more important. And this happens while you maintain the security and compliance requirements. While we have been going through this chatbot journey, we have progressed through multiple performance bottlenecks. And we have done deep analysis of the architecture, trying to figure out where the performance bottlenecks are there. And it has been through iterations. I would also like to highlight that while we think about scaling, it's just not about adding hardware to the solution, right? It is much more hidden inside the architecture. So how you do a deep analysis of the architecture, how you make it more scalable, reliable, faster, so that you keep the user engaged is more critical.
The more we are talking about this, the more painful it looks, actually building systems yourself. Do you think this influenced your choices between build versus buy?
There are multiple considerations which we think through while we choose between buy versus build. But then business requirements take the precedence. We take the factors like customization requirements, integration requirements, time to value, and future maintenance. While we decide for choose to buy versus build, we also see the use case. Like for example, if a use case needs a lot of customization requirements, then buy may not be a good idea. Whereas you need to have something quick and non-differentiating, then buy becomes a good idea. So both buy and build have their own pros and cons depending on the business requirements.
If I can add there, Suman, and this I draw upon my experience of so many years working in consulting across industries, that I've seen this becomes a question, and the points that you brought up are relevant to across industries. It's not only about Epsilon, and I would like to add that. And it is a strategic investment decision. It isn't something that you can do on the fly. It needs a lot of thought through decision making, analysis and paralysis of where we want to head to. It's a 3 to 5 year roadmap in mind that you have to at least bare minimum think of when you're trying to think build versus buy. Because what happens is, today the technology that I choose will have its effect in other downstream upstream decisions I make as far as infra is concerned, or tooling is concerned, or other software buys are concerned over a period of time. Because at the end of the day, if it's a large enough decision that you're taking, it's not only the bill that you're going to foot at the end of the month or at the end of the year, it is much more bigger than that. And we also shouldn't forget the people and the teams involved, the interconnected set of people and teams who are using the technology. Or tomorrow, if I am changing my directive basis today's decision of what I buy, that also will impact them, because the change is very difficult to make at times.
Another important consideration is level of governance, irrespective of you go for buy or build. Like the use of AI makes faster innovation a reality, but frequently it comes at the cost of failures. Now, while we go ahead with AI at a faster pace, we also need to see that how we can avoid the hidden risk, the technical depths, and long-term potential failures.
True, makes sense. But then, how do you balance governance and innovation? Being core engineering, we've had this tussle. We want to go faster, and thanks to AI, there is the temptation to just keep racing. What instills the balance so that we keep making sure that we govern better while we innovate?
So it's a very delicate balance between governance and innovation. In my experience, I have seen that when we think about balancing the governance as well as innovation, risk categorization plays an important role. So let's say you have a high risk use case. Governance becomes extremely important. Again, governance gets a little lower priority when you are going for a medium risk based use case or a low risk based use case. Now, governance and innovation should go hand in hand. Responsible AI prevents potential failures.
And I completely agree with you. And when you were talking about risk categorization, EU AI Act came into my mind. We have various frameworks today which make sure that we can adhere to the required guardrails and governance, especially for a large scale enterprise. It becomes extremely important. But I believe governance, in my opinion, is a continual journey, especially, Vikrant, to your point, the way tech is moving and the speed at which tech is moving. All we can do is keep at it and be on our toes, because without that we will never be able to balance innovation and governance and make sure that we are able to build ourselves for success. And especially in the AI world, I firmly believe that one of the key currencies to build trust with our clients is good governance. That is a true differentiator. And I always feel that while governance is important on other side, innovation is also important on the other side. If we have guardrails without governance, um, it only builds irrelevance.
That's a huge point. Being very customer centric, and you know how sensitive we are about customer data, end user data. Governance is going to be the linchpin that makes this a success. Um, so I think we've done a decent job so far, but we are going to keep evolving. Every new model that comes in, every new way of using AI will affect how we govern what we build. And I'm glad we are on our toes about that. So far, we've talked about innovation, we've talked about experimentation, we've talked about path to production, we've talked about governance. Let's talk about the ultimate goal, building AI systems that lead to ROI. All the investments that we've been making in AI, I think our end goal is going to be how to get the maximum value out of it. Thoughts on that?
ROI, isn't that the most pertinent question today when we hear of boardroom buzz, when we hear about what enterprise CXOs are talking about? Because on one side, companies have over indexed themselves in terms of investments, but on the other side, very interestingly, that I'm also witnessing is talks about and relevant reportage around how companies are still struggling to see measurable ROI, impactful ROI. And let me also add that it is very difficult to measure, because the compounding effect of AI is difficult to put into formulas and go ahead and make sense of, because it's still an evolving world. Um, I'll lead on with one very interesting report that I was reading. This was a 2025 report of Deloitte, and they had interviewed about 1,800 plus companies. And I'll be happy to share there were two very interesting findings. Um, the companies who are using Gen AI, only 15% of respondents actually spoke about being able to create measurable, higher value ROI from their AI investments. And guess what the number for agentic AI was? It was lesser than that. It was only 10%. So, which brings me back to the point on, while ROI is something that companies are looking at, we really have to go into the depths of it, and we need more and more ecosystem inputs for us to move the needle overarching, because this is again a common problem that enterprises are facing. Let me also look into an important measure such as CSAT, right, which is again, given the reference of internal and external users, customers, clients, um, CSAT becomes extremely important from both sides of, of the table.
I'll add another perspective. I think ROI is not just about building systems that bring CSAT or are extremely useful for the clients. It's also how you burn your budget. Every agentic AI system will burn tokens. We will be dependent on models. And if you don't optimize for cost, I think whatever ROI we gain, we will have burnt it out very fast. So it's important, I guess, to focus on also how we optimize for cost while we design our agents.
Agree with you. And in my experience, I've seen that a multidimensional approach of calculating ROI works well. And in that, we consider both hard ROI as well as soft ROI. Now, hard ROI handles the tangible financials, whereas soft ROI deals with more strategic and intangible financials.
Fantastic points. It's always very interesting having these conversations with the both of you. We've been on this journey for quite some time, and we've looked at all the possible scenarios in this ecosystem, right? We've talked about the structure of implementation of AI, the governance bits. We've matured some of the paths to production. The governance journey continues to improve. Lovely conversation. I really enjoyed listening to both of you, sharing some of my perspectives. And I hope we have more of these conversations as the industry evolves. Thank you for reminiscing on this journey with me. And the audience, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I did. Look forward to the next session of Engineering the Hard Problems. Thank you.